Thank you for listening to Scandinavian Crimes Podcast. Be sure to check out the episode links and be part of our other social media platforms where you can leave a topic suggestion or even share some of your insights regarding the subject matter of the episode. We will always do our best to provide a well-researched episode, but sometimes due to limited access to information and translation issues, some information can be lost. It is therefore good to do your own research and get a deeper understanding of a case of your own interest. So with that all said, let us start today's episode.
Welcome to Scandinavian Crimes. My name is Devante, and say hello to my lovely, gorgeous co-host, Delila.
Hi, everyone.
And on this podcast, we will cover famous Scandinavian criminals who made their mark throughout Scandinavian history. So this story is really something, and it's really heartbreaking. And I think many people realize when it comes to being a parent, it's very difficult, but also just please pay attention to the signs. In today's story, we're going to talk about a young boy who was abused, tortured, and then later killed by his own mother and her boyfriend. His death was extremely pointless and it was very evil in the truest of sense. And unfortunately, this is something that took place not really that long ago. And it's going to break a lot of people's hearts, and hopefully we can learn from this story moving forward. So today we're covering the abuse, torture, and the ultimate death of Bobby Äikiä. Niina Äikiä, Bobby Äikiä's mother, gave birth to a boy when she was only 19 years old. Due to his medical condition, Bobby was intellectually disabled and had difficulty socializing with other people. He suffered from a disability called Fragile X syndrome. Fragile X syndrome is a genetic disorder characterized by mild to moderate intellectual disability. The average IQ in males with FXS is under 55, while about 2/3 of affected females are intellectually disabled. Physical features may include long, narrow face, large ears, inflexible fingers, and large testicles. About 1/3 of those affected have features of autism, such as problems with social interactions and delayed speech. Hyperactivity is common and seizures occur in about 10% of cases. It's usually a little more prevalent in males than it is females. Due to this disability, Niina regarded the child as more of a nuisance, regarding him more as a younger brother than a son. Eventually, support family was assigned for Bobby that he visited each and every week. After a while, Bobby's mother, Niina, eventually began dating a man called Eddie Larson, who had previously been incarcerated for rape. Larson enticed Niina with promises of a quiet country life and a quaint little croft with a few animals to raise, causing her to move out of her home and away from Bobby's support family to move in with Larson. However, Niina discovered that he'd actually rented an old, dilapidated croft that had no animals at all. The croft had no toilet, no hot water, minimal electricity, and was heated by cab heaters and a stove. The couple's abuse of Bobby is believed to have begun in the autumn of 2005 when Niina witnessed Larson shove the boy's head into a plate of food after he'd grown annoyed with Bobby for not eating. The food was later revealed to be ravioli mixed with cat food. Bobby was burned with cigarettes, had his genitals beating with wooden sticks, would be electrocuted via an electric fence located in a nearby sheep pasture, and had liquor forced down his throat with a funnel. What we also later found out as well was that he had a vacuum cleaner hose placed onto his penis and was forced to lie naked in the snow, where he would sometimes have snow shoveled on top of him. One particular incident recalled later by Niina involved Bobby defecating himself, whereupon Larson forced the boy to wear the stained underwear on his face for a day and a half. By December 2005, the abuse had reached a point where, in order to hide their actions, Bobby's parents, or Bobby's mother and her boyfriend, had advised the school that he would be absent for an extended period of time due to illness. On the 13th of January in 2006, after another episode of abuse, Bobby was tied to a chair and thrown out of the house by Larson. He was eventually brought back inside by his parents and placed in front of the stove to warm up. Sometime after, Bobby was moved to his bedroom and placed on his bed. On January 14th, 2006, Bobby was found dead by his mother, Niina, who believed he had died choking on a half-eaten orange Larson claimed to have conducted CPR on Bobby, but it did not work out. Bobby's parents hid his body in a nearby woodshed for several days before it was decided to pack him into the trunk of their car. After searching for a location to dispose of the body, they settled on Lake Laufhun. The body was wrapped in chains and submerged in the lake. On January 29, 2006, the couple reported him missing after a visit to the shopping center in Gothenburg. Soldiers from the Swedish armed forces were mobilized to search for Bobby. However, when the body could not be found, suspicion eventually turned towards Niina and Larson. By February 2006, the two were arrested for suspicion of murder, and following Niina's confession to police, Bobby was found under the ice in Lake Laufhun. In 2006, at the district court, the trial against Niina and Larson began. Neither of the two considered themselves responsible for Bobby's death and blamed each other. The proceedings revealed that Larson had developed an interest in sadomasochism and engaged in violent sex with Niina, who claimed that she endured sexual abuse by Larson and that she and Bobby lived in a highly threatening situation. Larson claimed that sexual relationship between them had been mutual and denied ever having assaulted Bobby or mistreated him. The trial ended with the couple's conviction for murder, aggravated assault, and gross negligence causing death. In June 2006, they were sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. Bobby's death attracted a lot of media attention and strong public reactions. The Swedish tabloid newspaper Expressen organized a 30,000 rose collection from the public, which was gathered at Bobby's funeral. In Ödsmål. The church was open to the public to attend and pay respects. In 2008, the Swedish parliament passed a law that sets out guidelines for investigation of suspected child abuse involving special needs children. In February 2008, Niina received 54,000 Swedish crowns in compensation after being attacked and cut in the face inside of the prison. In January 2017, she gave birth to a child who was seized by authorities and placed in foster care, citing Niina was unfit to be a parent. After hearing all of this, this is the story of the abuse, torture, and the ultimate death of Bobby Äikiä. What a story. Oh my God. The story was absolutely heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking for sure. Yeah, I have like zero comments. It's very tragic. I'm a bit surprised though that they only got 10 years because wasn't this considered murder? Or was it not considered murder because he choked? Apparently he choked on an orange, or was it clementine? I can't. Was a orange, a half-eaten orange, right?
Yeah, it was a half-eaten piece of orange. But from my understanding, I think he was still bound in bed or something like that. But basically, or even if he wasn't, the thing is, the parents did get charged with negligence because remember, his mental capacity is like 55 and below, which means he's barely functioning. He doesn't know how to do much of anything by himself. So that's what's really upsetting about it because, I know the mom had him at a very young age. She was 19, and obviously 19 is really young, no matter what age or what year it is. Because I know back in the day, people had kids really early. 19 is young. You still have so much of your life ahead.
Well, I know that people usually look down on people who get children very young. Me personally, I wouldn't want that because I personally don't want to have kids that early in my life. But there are some who chose to do that, and if they are ready for it, sure. In this case, we don't really know the circumstances for that. But I would say that in this case, if you can't take care of a special need child, you ask for help. And it looked like they actually got help. They met a family who, what was it called?
It was a support family, yeah.
And they were living with them and everything. So that would actually help a lot, and she chose to live with this, rape convicted, or was he convicted for? I don't know.
Yeah, he was convicted of rape.
He had a history Yeah, he has a history of it. And she chose to go and live with him. It wasn't the life that he promised. And she still kept living with him and also let him, and also joining in the abuse of her child, Bobby. So in that case, I don't think she's fit to be a mother.
Agreed.
So it's like, no matter the circumstances, the child did not deserve that, even though, especially with disabilities. I think that is just horrible. That's and I think also 10 years for that, it's
ridiculous.
Not enough. Yeah, it's, even though she said that he was choked with an orange, and but he could have died by the abuse that they gave him. He let him sleep or lay in a bed of snow naked. There were so many things here that I feel like they deserve a higher sentence. I don't know if because they didn't actually murder with intent, or they couldn't be charged for that because he choked technically, but they should probably have enough proof to be sentenced higher than that. I mean, this is recent. What about the autopsy? What about objects at the home, DNA samples from the body? I just feel like there should be proof more to showcase how terrible this is and give a higher sentence than 10 years. And on top of that, she got a kid after she was freed because she got released. The child was born 2017, right?
Yeah.
And they were convicted and sentenced and everything in 2006? Or was the incident happening in 2006?
They were, I believe, convicted in 2006-07 because Bobby was already 10, which means, so she had Bobby at 19, which means he was 10 years old when he died, if I remember correctly. And which means by the time he died, she was only 29. And that happened, that was 2006, 2007. Then it went away for 10 years, which means she's only 39. So yeah, she basically is still young enough to still have a long life and long time. But yeah, that's around that time, yeah.
And if we go to benefit of the doubt that she changed during prison time and that she's another woman and something, she kind of immediately after she got released got a child. And first of all, I just feel like, who would immediately have get a child with her immediately as she gets out, or if it wasn't during the time she was in prison. I
don't,
or if it wasn't the guy,
I'm not sure.
What's his name?
Larson. Yeah, I'm not sure if it was him or if someone intentionally did it. I'm assuming she got out of prison, and because she was in there for 10 years, as adults we have needs, and she probably got out, hooked up with someone, and was pregnant. And instead of, at the time too, it was a hookup, maybe. Yeah, even though at the time there was contraceptives and ways for them to prevent that, she was just well, I want to keep it. But I guess she didn't realize that, when you go to the doctor to check on yourself and, pregnancies and stuff, I guess she didn't figure she was being monitored, or maybe she had to report that she was pregnant as a part of her, whatever her situation was coming out of prison, maybe. And that's why when the baby was born, they immediately took the child and was we're not giving you another chance to kill someone else. Yeah. So
I'm honestly very glad that they did that, because we don't want history to repeat itself. I do believe in rehabilitation and getting better and stuff, but she needs more time to before even getting a child. I just feel like she just recently got out of prison. She needs a little bit more time to help herself a little bit before she can even get a child, in my opinion. But I'm glad that she took the child. However, it's sad that now the child will be put in the system, and the system isn't the best option either. which is unfortunate. I hope the child is doing okay, honestly.
I think in this case, because they took the child away super early, but the child was essentially a very young newborn, and it's statistically proven that people tend to adopt younger. So even though the system, like you said, is not the best place, because it's a baby, I'm pretty sure that baby got adopted pretty quickly, because
I hope so.
Because like I said, statistically people tend to adopt younger, since it's easier to raise a baby, just not easier in like the literal sense. I just mean easier as in they'll feel more like family by the time they get to 10, because you've had them their entire life essentially.
Yeah.
So
like that's true.
So it's I'm hoping the baby's fine. It turned out their whole life turned out well. I hope so. And
I'm just a bit like disappointed that of course neither of them would take responsibility for their actions, and was like blaming each other for who would like get the highest sentence and stuff. I don't know. I just
what it sounds like to me, honestly. Sorry to
Yeah.
It sounds like honestly that she probably, because they didn't discuss it, but it sounds like probably she grew up in a very abusive home, or maybe has a background in abuse. And unfortunately, what tends to happen when you have a background in abuse is that you typically often end up in situations of abuse over and over again. So
because that's your comfort.
That's the only thing yeah. So it's like, I think, because like I said, it's one thing to experience abuse once, especially it can happen to anybody. That's true. But in her case, it sounds like she was drawn to this type of person. And then even when she still was early in enough where she had the option to, escape after she saw what he did to her son, she still chose to stay, which means, because that was such a drastic escalation.
It's not a choice thing though. Like it could be like, the thing is, in this case, I would for sure say that she did join into the abuse as well. It wasn't only him, if I understood correctly. Yeah. So like they were both abusing, and him, Bobby. But like, I think it's important to just say that it's not always the case that you can leave.
No, definitely.
But in this case, we don't know what he was capable of either. But like in this case, she was like an active participant in this. Yeah. So I have zero empathy for her. I think, and also for him, like he was the initiator for this whole thing. If she just kept being in the support family, then it probably, like, they wouldn't initiate each other to like do all these things, honestly.
Yeah, because then someone will be checking on them. But when I was saying like maybe she, like when she chose to be a part of it, and I guess the wording was that's not literally what I meant. I guess what I mean is like
she could have left.
She either, like, even if she didn't leave per se, right? Like, because I know, like you said, that's true. Sometimes leaving is not always an option, especially based on the type of dude Larson sounds like. He sounds like an absolute trash human being.
He sounds like he freaking hurt people.
Yeah, so like, I'm pretty sure she didn't have the option.
He doesn't sound sane.
Yeah,
honestly, that's what I think. Yeah.
And then I think my point is, like, she didn't have to join in. It's one thing to be like, you can't escape, but you don't have to join in. Like, you didn't have to join in on the abuse. Like, oh, he's doing it, let me do whatever. And then, like, because then that's an indication of your character, where I think she in some way is probably a victim, but also that victim has turned into a monster themselves. Because, like I said, it's one thing to be abused and then you're not abusing your own children. There's nothing you can do about it because, somebody else is doing it, but you're not actively a part of it. But then she was actively. These situations,
yeah. I know what you're saying. Like, these situations are very tricky because by not actively stopping it, you will also be automatically an accomplice to the whole thing. And it could be because you're scared. It could be because it might get worse. It could lead to like some like death, not only for the mother, but for the child or both of them. So it can escalate quickly. So that like these situations are very tricky. But in this case, we can for sure say that she was an accomplice, that she actually was joining in the torture.
Yeah.
And both of them should be accountable for it. And I'm glad that both of them got sentenced for it as well. But like in these kind of situations, I think it's important to like point out that not like it, all situations in these kind of situations are very tricky because it's not as you think it looks like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's not black and white. There's a lot of factors that go into abuse.
Like nuances and stuff, You
know, just like, unfortunately, everything in life has a lot of nuance and a lot of shades of gray. There's no pure one side or the other. There's a lot of complications in every aspect of life, from, you know, something as complex as creating laws and criminal justice systems to all the way down to relationships. You know, there's a lot of shades of gray on why people do things and commit things, and it's a really messy world, especially when it involves humans, because we're just honestly as a whole just can be pretty trashy to each other. And
I'm just glad that they actually like made a law of guidelines for like suspected child abuse and such, that they improved that after this case. So at least something good came out of it, I guess. But there will it's still that this one child who we hope got adopted and will have a happy life is still a victim of like having this past, and I hope that this child will be like having a better life, honestly. But at least they changed the law and like tried to have better guidelines and learning from these incidents. And I think it's important that we all learning from these things so we can grow and like make sure that this doesn't happen again.
And I think this is also a testament as well, to piggyback off of that as well. I think this is a testament as well that, you know, even though times have changed in our generation specifically, we're not having kids as frequently or as early as our parents or grandparents' generation, but even then this message still can apply. I think that, you know, if you're not ready to have a child and you feel like you don't want to, and if you feel like you're not equipped to be a parent, especially to a special needs child, I think you need to at least do a service to that child and give them the best opportunity to have a good life, even if that life is not with you. And be sure to put them in programs or do what you can to make sure that they can be with someone, with a family who is willing to help them, who can help them, who are better equipped to help them, instead of taking out your frustration as well on a child. I'm not saying, like I said, there's a lot of nuance, but in terms of this particular story, it's something I think people should consider as well, that, I personally don't think you would be considered a bad guy for, wanting to put them in an environment that's better equipped to handle them, because especially having a child with economically,
I understand what you mean. You can get a better life with someone who has maybe a better financial standpoint, or I get what you mean. But I also think it's important that if you chose to have a child and you want to keep the child, you also have to have take proper responsibility and help it as much as you can. And if you can't help it, try to at least give it a better option of a better life, I guess.
Because sometimes it's not even about the money either. It's just, especially with the issues that Bobby had specifically with the Fragile X syndrome, where basically his IQ is almost next to non-existent, where they require a lot of monitoring, a lot of attention, and they will never unfortunately have a normal life. And as a parent, I know that can be difficult, even if you have the money to do it. it's emotionally, mentally, and physically taxing, because they will.
I know, but still, like, I just want to, like, I know what you're saying, but remember, the child's, like, imagine for the child to be abandoned by the parents because they can't take proper care of them.
I mean, but
like, that would be, like, you have to think about, I know that it could lead to these kind of cases in that case, but, like, the parents have to at least try to be, like, take care of their kids in the case, like, if they can't take care of their child, even, like, they have to at least get some help, like some kind of family support, or like some kind of help, assistance, or anything like that. The government do provide that, because you have to understand that the child, even though they have whatever disability they have, they still can understand that, like, okay, my parents just abandoned me.
So
like, you have to, like, also think about, like, there's so many things thinking, like at least as a parent, I think it's very important that you try, and then if you've tried and you can't really help the child, like, do it, then I think there's a better chance for the child to have a better life somewhere else in that case.
Well,
that's only the thing that I think is important to mention, that because, like, it's not only about the parent's life, it's also about the, like, it's important to consider the child's life.
Well, like I said, it's also,
well.
This all varies as well. This is not like a, at least what I'm
Black
saying,
and white.
it's not a black and white thing. This is all in varying shades of gray. So this is something I would want people to consider based on your situation and the extremity of your situation. If it's something that's a mild, and I'm just saying, like, for example, a mild autism, then, there are a lot of people who are grown adults who are fully functioning, who can have a job and still have autism. That's fine. But then in his case, he was one of I consider more the extreme case. I think people need to be realistic with themselves. It's not even just about the parent's life per se. It's about the quality of life of the child. And some people are not mentally, emotionally, and physically equipped to deal with that. And no matter how much they may want to, and remember, this scenario is like outside of the story. If the parent was actively trying to be a good parent, not
everyone is fit to be a parent.
Yeah, not everyone is fit to be a parent. Not everyone is fit to be a parent to someone who has disabilities. It's very difficult. It's very hard, depending on the extremity of it. So I want people to be realistic with themselves and their expectations of themselves with their children, and put their children first, no matter how much it may hurt, and do the right thing for their child so they can have a better life or a more comfortable life. And, so that way we don't end up with situations like this where, kids are dying because the mother, not only was participating, but was very neglectful. And situations like this should be avoided at all costs. And that's what I want people to think about when, you hear stories like this. Just
evaluate your situation.
Exactly.
Do what you can, and try to think of the child's best future in mind.
Exactly. So I think this episode in particular is giving a lot of people a food for thought. And this is a very heartbreaking. This was
intense. Like, I can't breathe.
Yeah, this is very heartbreaking.
So tragic. Yeah.
And
but I think it's good that we're talking about these and, like, try to learn and think of the situation,
Because, I mean, it's, know what they say, if we don't learn from our mistakes, we're doomed to repeat them. So this is not a way to, necessarily bash anybody for whatever choices they make, even though there was a very blatant wrong thing. This is more of an opportunity for us to talk about things like this and then learn from them, what we can do differently, what we can change, so that way as a human race, we can move forward to that beautiful utopia that I know we all want deep down. So, I think things like this are very important.
Sorry.
So
I was okay.
That's okay. So I hope everyone enjoyed, not enjoyed per se, but I hope everyone learned something from today's episode. I hope, something for you to think about going forward. And let's try to end it on a positive note, because this is a really, really, heavy episode. And let me see, what's something that I think everyone can benefit from that'll make them feel good. Let's see. Do you have anything in mind?
Bacon pancakes. Sorry.
I'm so dead. Bacon pancakes are definitely valid for sure. So how about after hearing this, go get yourself some breakfast, lunch, whenever you decide to listen to this, get you some good food, get yourself some bacon. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give you a small little, when you're making the pancakes, right? Cut up the bacon, sprinkle it into the pancake batter, cook it, then put the syrup on the pancakes. Delicious. You're getting the luxuries of two things in a single pancake, or maybe you make multiples, but that's just a little something for you, and do whatever comfort food. Let's just feel good.
And for like our vegetarians or vegans out there, get some like vegan bacon. That's good for you, or tofu.
That as well. So I hope you guys learned something today, and we will see you next week. Peace out.